"You're not white enough to be the lead." One brutal sentence that ruined careers and exposed Hollywood's dirtiest secret, from stars digitally scrubbed pale to Oscar winners pushed near the kitchen. This isn't glamour, it's manipulation. We're pulling back the velvet curtain. Subscribe now and don't miss the truth they never wanted you to see. Wentworth Miller, the man Hollywood repainted. In the casting rooms of America's biggest television projects in the early 2000s, Wentworth Miller frequently faced dark whispers, "You are not white enough." This was never a story about a man hiding his roots. It was about an industry that treated identity like a photo flaw that needed fixing. When Prison Break became a global obsession, viewers saw pale skin, icy blue eyes, and a face carefully polished for magazine covers. What they did not see was the reality behind that image. Wentworth is the son of a black father and a white mother. That truth did not fit the fantasy, so Hollywood erased it. Fashion magazines in the United States and Europe quietly turned lighting and editing into tools of disappearance. Covers grew brighter, shadows vanished, and skin tones were softened until nothing uncomfortable remained. The goal was simple: create a safe white television hero who would never challenge the audience. The product succeeded. The person did not. Wentworth later described the disturbing experience of standing at a newsstand and failing to recognize his own face. He existed between two worlds, both choosing to look away. When he finally spoke publicly about being a multiracial black man, the response was disbelief. The message was clear: if you look white, you are not allowed to say otherwise. That rejection, combined with years of hiding his sexuality, drove him into depression and self-harm. Hollywood gave him fame but stripped away wholeness. They protected the image and abandoned the human being. Wentworth Miller did not fight edited pixels for attention. He fought them to survive. And by choosing truth over comfort, and he exposed a reality. The industry avoids identity is not a filter, and no amount of editing can erase a soul. Lena Horne, the star Hollywood kept at arm's length. During Hollywood's golden age, Lena Horne was presented as a symbol of elegance and progress. She was beautiful, refined, and immensely talented. Studios proudly placed her face on posters and used her voice to elevate their films. Yet, behind the scenes, the rules were clear: she could be seen, but never fully integrated. Lena was one of the few black women allowed into major studio productions, but her appearances came with conditions. Her musical performances were filmed separately from the main story. Carefully isolated from other characters, this wasn't an artistic choice. It was a business strategy. By keeping her scenes detached, theaters in certain regions could remove her entirely without disrupting the film. Hollywood wanted Lena's talent, but only in controlled portions. She became a performer who could stop a movie, but never move it forward. Her presence was designed to be optional. She could shine, but only inside moments that could be lifted out with a simple cut. On screen, Lena rarely interacted closely with white characters. She existed in her own polished space, visible yet distant. Audiences admired her, but the story never depended on her. Inclusion was offered, but always with limits. Lena understood this system clearly. She knew she was valued as an entertainer, not as an equal participant in the cinematic world. While studios celebrated her image publicly, the editing room quietly enforced separation. Lena Horne was not hidden by makeup or lighting. She was controlled by structure, and in that carefully managed spotlight, she revealed one of Hollywood's longest-running habits: allowing brilliance to appear, as long as it never challenges the rules behind the screen. Dwayne Johnson, when the clean image failed and the truth won. In November 1996, Madison Square Garden was ready for a new hero. Bright lights, loud music, and the debut of a perfectly packaged wrestler named Rocky Maivia. Dwayne Johnson stepped into the ring with a polished smile and a harmless image designed to please everyone. Behind the scenes, the strategy was clear: highlight his Polynesian roots, soften everything else, and sell him as a safe, universal star. The crowd rejected it immediately. Chants of "Rocky sucks" filled the arena, Analysts later agreed it wasn't about talent. The audience sensed something artificial. The industry had stripped away the edge and honesty of a man and replaced it with a carefully cleaned version. Fans don't connect with a lie. No matter how well it's dressed, Dwayne made a decision that changed everything. He dropped the name Rocky Maivia and became The Rock. In a now-famous interview, he addressed the silence around his father with absolute clarity. His father was Rocky Johnson, a man who fought his way through the wrestling world and opened doors for others. Dwayne made it clear that no brand, no headline, and no marketing plan would ever erase that truth. That refusal forced the media to rewrite his story. Gone were the vague labels and cautious descriptions. Dwayne Johnson became a global leading man by standing firmly in who he was. Success followed honesty, not the other way around. Years later, the legacy continued. In 2022, his daughter Simone Johnson entered WWE proudly. Without hiding any part of her identity, what once required silence had become something to carry forward openly. Personally, I truly admire Dwayne Johnson for never denying his father or his roots. What about you? Leave comment number 3 if you respect him too. Rita Hayworth, the goddess Hollywood rebuilt strand by strand. In the 1940s, Rita Hayworth wasn't just a movie star. She was the symbol of desire. Red hair, glowing skin, and an image so flawless it looked unreal. That was no accident. Rita Hayworth was born Margarita Carmen Cancino, with unmistakable Spanish roots. Hollywood didn't see a goddess. It saw a problem that needed fixing. The solution was extreme. Columbia Pictures didn't simply suggest a makeover. They redesigned her. Painful electrolysis erased her natural hairline. Her dark hair was dyed red. Her last name disappeared. Margarita Carmen Cancino became Rita Hayworth, a woman carefully rebuilt to match a very narrow definition of beauty. This wasn't branding. It was reconstruction. Hollywood didn't just polish her image. It rewrote her identity. The industry sold her as the perfect white fantasy while quietly deleting anything that hinted at where she came from. The audience fell in love with the illusion, unaware that every strand of hair and every publicity photo was part of a larger erasure. The joke, of course, was cruel. Rita became one of the most desired women in the world, yet privately struggled with insecurity, exhaustion, and a deep sense of disconnection from herself. The more perfect she looked on screen, the less control she felt over her own life. Fame gave her everything except peace. Rita Hayworth's story speaks a harsh truth about classic Hollywood. You could become a goddess overnight, but only if you agreed to disappear first. And while the movies promised glamour forever, the cost was paid quietly, one edited detail at a time. Mariah Carey, the hit machine trapped in a soundproof room. Imagine having a voice powerful enough to stop the world, yet watching your own identity quietly erased line by line. In the early 1990s, inside the executive offices of Columbia Records, Mariah Carey was not treated as a multiracial artist. She was treated as a financial equation, a skin tone adjustment project worth millions. The plan was elegant and ruthless. Take a soulful voice with deep roots and package it into America's safest sweetheart. Album covers were carefully edited before the public even knew what photo editing was. Skin tones were lightened. Natural curls softened into golden waves. Every pixel was polished to sell comfort, not truth. Press interviews followed the same script. Her father, Alfred Roy Carey, a man of African and Venezuelan heritage, was almost never mentioned. Instead, Mariah was labeled a white soul singer, a convenient shortcut that kept questions away and profits intact. The illusion worked beautifully, but the real control lived far from the camera. Inside the gates of the Bedford mansion, Mariah found herself in a luxurious silence. Her husband and label head enforced strict rules to protect the brand. Hip-hop collaborations were forbidden. Anything connected to her roots was considered risky. Every note had to sound clean, controlled, and profitable. When Mariah finally broke free and embraced a bolder image, the media suddenly changed its tone. The same traits once hidden were now loudly analyzed. Mariah never changed. The system did. By walking away from control and stepping into her full identity, Mariah Carey proved something: powerful voices can be edited. Images can be filtered, but truth always finds its way back to the stage. Tom Jones, The Lion and the Borrowed Skin. The first time people heard Tom Jones on the radio in the 1960s, many were ready to bet everything they owned that the singer had come straight out of the Mississippi Delta. The voice was deep, gritty, and overflowing with soul. It sounded lived in. Then, Tom Jones walked on stage, and the illusion shattered. Curly hair, tanned skin, and the posture of a Welsh gentleman left audiences confused and fascinated at the same time. Tom Jones wasn't trying to hide anything. In fact, he was the rare case where the world assumed he was pretending to be white just to enter elite music circles. In Detroit and Chicago, radio stations serving black listeners played his songs non-stop, convinced they had discovered a new soul icon. Meanwhile, executives in London and Hollywood saw a different kind of opportunity. They realized Tom had the emotional fire of James Brown paired with an image that felt safe to sell. His music was marketed to upper-class white women who craved the sound of rhythm and blues but preferred it delivered by a familiar-looking face. It was soul, carefully wrapped for mass appeal. Questions about Tom's background followed him for decades. From birth, unusual markings on his skin sparked speculation about mixed ancestry. Even Tom admitted that people still insisted he was hiding a secret. He never rushed to correct them. He didn't defend his bloodline. He let the mystery breathe. Instead of fighting the confusion, Tom used it. He shared stages with legends like Aretha Franklin, ignored gossip, and proved that music speaks louder than labels. His career existed between expectations, showing that, in entertainment, skin can be a borrowed coat, but soul always sings through. Fredi Washington, the star who refused to disappear politely. In a powerful office at Paramount Pictures in the mid-1930s, an A-list contract was placed in front of Fredi Washington. Studio executives saw perfection striking eyes, luminous skin, and beauty strong enough to rival any leading star. But the offer came with a condition that crossed a line. Disown your mother. Change your name to something French or Italian. Become someone easier to sell. Hollywood didn't want Fredi's talent. They wanted to rewrite her identity. She was considered too elegant for servant roles, yet too honest to headline films as herself. If she agreed to pass as a European woman, fame was guaranteed. If she refused, the consequences were clear. Fredi chose refusal. She openly declared pride in who she was, instantly transforming from rising star to industry problem. Roles disappeared. Contracts vanished. Her career stalled not because of lack of ability, but because she would not erase her family. The industry's twisted humor appeared in Imitation of Life, where Fredi played a woman who rejects her mother to live as white. On screen, the character suffers. Off-screen, Fredi walked proudly beside her dark-skinned mother through Hollywood, refusing to play the lie she rejected in real life. Never a commodity that can be bought with a fake French name. Fredi Washington was more than an actress. She was a symbol of self-respect in an era of lies. While many chose the French mask in exchange for fame, Fredi chose to live with the truth. Even if the cost was being erased from the greatest leading roles in cinematic history, Fredi Washington would rather vanish than disown her mother. But have you ever heard of the most powerful man in America? The man who held every star secret yet trembled before his own family tree. Prepare for profile. John Edgar Hoover, power, fear, and a family secret. Inside FBI headquarters were files capable of destroying any political career. Yet the file that truly haunted J. Edgar Hoover was never locked in a drawer. It followed him every day. His own family history. Unlike Hollywood stars who relied on makeup and lighting, Hoover used the full machinery of the state to protect his image. Persistent rumors suggested his ancestors were black people enslaved in Mississippi. In a society obsessed with ancestry, even a single trace could end a man's rise. Hoover chose survival through domination. He didn't just erase the past, He attacked anything that reminded him of it. Civil rights leaders, activists, and critics became targets of relentless surveillance and destruction. Many psychologists later argued that this aggression was deeply personal. The harder Hoover tried to destroy black movements, the more he seemed to be fighting himself. Hoover built a flawless public identity while privately living in fear of exposure. He held secret files on politicians, celebrities, and anyone powerful enough to threaten him. This created a climate of silence. No one questioned the man who could end your freedom with one phone call. Publicly, Hoover was celebrated as the symbol of law and order. In reality, he was a prisoner of insecurity, ruling an empire while terrified of his own reflection. He carried his secrets to the grave after nearly 50 years in power, leaving behind a legacy defined not by justice, but control. If you like this video, comment with a number 1. If you don't like it, comment with a number 0. Clark Gable, the king who ruled while erasing his past. Do not let the charming smile, perfect mustache, and King of Hollywood title fool you. In the 1930s, Clark Gable was not just a movie star. Inside the MGM empire, he was a high-value asset protected by silence, pressure, and aggressive damage control. In that era, a man's origins were not personal details. They were financial risks. While audiences worshipped Gable as the ultimate American man, a quiet operation worked behind the scenes to sanitize his past. Film historians later pointed to evidence that MGM spent serious money destroying genealogical records in his hometown in Ohio. The goal was simple: erase rumors that Gable carried African or Native American ancestry. In a time when such whispers could destroy careers, perfection had to be manufactured. Yet Gable himself kept cracking the mask. On the set of Gone with the Wind, he exploded after discovering separate bathrooms had been assigned to black and white actors. He didn't negotiate. He threatened to walk unless Hattie McDaniel was treated equally. Many later asked why a white superstar would risk everything. Some believed it was empathy rooted in fear, recognizing in her the truth he was forced to deny. Tabloids never fully let him go, hinting at an exotic look and questioning his appearance. Gable lived a strange contradiction in the face of America. Hiding from his own ancestors, Hollywood crowned him king, but the price was total erasure of self. Clark Gable died in 1960. Taking his secrets with him, his legacy remains legendary but full of carefully edited silence. Hattie McDaniel, Glory Won at the Kitchen Door. The famous photograph from the 1940 Academy Awards hides a detail that still hurts to look at. While Hollywood's brightest stars sit comfortably at the main tables, one woman is placed near the kitchen entrance. That woman was Hattie McDaniel. On that night, she made history and was quietly humiliated at the same time. Hattie won the Oscar for Gone with the Wind, becoming the first black performer ever to receive the award. The applause was thunderous. The smiles were wide. But behind the scenes, the Ambassador Hotel required her to enter through a service door and sit apart. Hollywood handed her a golden statue, then refused to give her a proper seat to celebrate it. This contradiction followed her entire career. Out of more than 300 films, most of Hattie's roles were maids. Studios locked her into a single image meant to comfort white audiences. When criticized for accepting such roles, she delivered a line that still echoes today. She would rather play a maid for $700 than be one for $7. It wasn't an excuse. It was survival. The erasure didn't end with her life. Hattie's wish to be buried in Hollywood Forever Cemetery was denied. Her Oscar later disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Even in death, recognition was taken away piece by piece. Hattie McDaniel lived and died in isolation, celebrated publicly but denied dignity privately. She opened doors that others walked through, while she was kept standing at the back. Her story reveals a painful truth about classic Hollywood glory was possible, but equality was not. And that kitchen-side Oscar became a symbol of the cost of being first in a world unwilling to fully accept you. If you truly respect her talent and believe she deserved more, leave a number 10 in the comments to help keep her legacy alive. Vin Diesel, the system error Hollywood couldn't fix. If Hollywood were a giant machine built to sort people into neat boxes, Vin Diesel would be the error message that made it crash, long before becoming the face of the Fast and Furious empire. Vin Diesel was a nightclub bouncer in New York, breaking up fights at night and facing rejection by day. Casting directors didn't know what to do with him. His skin tone, voice, and features refused to fit their categories. He wasn't white enough for the classic leading man. He wasn't black enough for the roles Hollywood usually offered. Vin wasn't hiding who he was. The problem was that the industry didn't have a label for him. In the early 1990s, that confusion kept him trapped in forgettable roles, while studios worried audiences wouldn't know how to read him. Instead of waiting for permission, Vin made a risky move. He spent $3,000 of his own money to write, direct, and star in a short film called Multifacial. The film exposed his reality, an actor constantly switching accents and mannerisms in auditions, only to be rejected for being too ambiguous. It was raw, personal, and honest. That honesty caught the attention of Steven Spielberg, who was so impressed he wrote a role specifically for Vin in Saving Private Ryan. Hollywood had no choice but to adjust. Instead of reshaping Vin, they followed his lead. Vin Diesel turned what was once seen as a flaw into a global brand. He didn't explain himself. He didn't apologize. He proved that when the system refuses to give you a seat, the smartest move is to build your own table and drive it full speed into history. Carol Channing, the platinum mask that lasted half a century. Carol Channing's story began with a whisper powerful enough to shape an entire life. At 16, just before leaving home to chase her dreams, her mother pulled her aside and delivered a warning disguised as love. Stay silent or disappear. She revealed that Carol's father, a respected journalist, was a multiracial black man. In that America, the truth wasn't risky. It was lethal to ambition. Carol understood immediately, and so the platinum mask was born. Bright hair, heavy makeup, and a carefully protected image became her armor. For more than 50 years on Broadway, dazzling audiences in shows like Hello, Dolly, she never allowed a single crack to show. This wasn't studio pressure. It was fear, layered on daily with powder and hairspray. She avoided sunlight, scrutiny, and questions. Every performance sparkled, but every step off stage carried anxiety. One mistake, one rumor, and the empire she built could collapse overnight. The mask worked too well. The truth finally surfaced when Carol was 81, revealed quietly in her memoir. The world paused. The symbol of white theatrical glamour had carried African heritage all along. When asked why she stayed silent, her answer was devastatingly simple. She didn't want to become a problem. Her freedom arrived late, carrying both relief and regret. She realized the world might have accepted her, but only after she had spent a lifetime pretending. Carol Channing wasn't just a stage legend. She was proof that survival once required erasing yourself completely. These stories aren't just about fame. They reveal an industry built on masks. And now, we ask you, which legend shocked you the most? How many more whitewashed stories are still buried? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Freddie Mercury, the legend who was asked to forget where he came from. The world knows Freddie Mercury as a once-in-a-lifetime voice. Powerful, theatrical, untouchable. What the world rarely heard about was where that voice came from. Freddie was born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar, into a Persian family practicing the Zoroastrian faith. That origin, however, never made it into the official story. During Queen's rise, the Western music industry preferred Freddie as a mystery with no roots. A genius who appeared out of nowhere. Mentioning Persia, the Middle East, or South Asia didn't fit the fantasy they wanted to sell. So his background wasn't denied, it was quietly skipped. Silence became the strategy. Freddie didn't publicly reject his heritage, but he wasn't encouraged to explore it either. Interviews focused on spectacle, not history. Costumes, vocals, and charisma filled the spotlight while his cultural identity stayed backstage. It was a cleaner narrative, easier to market, and less likely to make audiences uncomfortable. This wasn't about changing how Freddie looked. It was about controlling what was allowed to be known. His story shows that erasure doesn't always require editing photos or rewriting faces. Sometimes it only takes omission. If something is never mentioned, the world forgets to ask. Freddie Mercury became immortal through sound, but part of his truth lived in quiet restraint. His legacy reminds us that even legends can be shaped by what they are allowed to say and what they are gently asked to leave unsaid. I've been a huge fan of Freddie Mercury since childhood. How about you? Please drop a 13 in the comments if you love her as much as I do. Eartha Kitt, the woman Hollywood punished for telling the truth. Eartha Kitt never tried to soften herself to make anyone comfortable. She didn't hide where she came from, and she certainly didn't smile quietly when told to stay in her place. She was glamorous, sharp, outspoken, and that combination made powerful people nervous. The breaking point came in 1968, inside the White House itself. During a luncheon with political leaders and the First Lady, Eartha openly criticized the Vietnam War, speaking about how it was destroying young lives and families. The room froze. The honesty wasn't welcomed. It was remembered. What followed was swift and brutal. Eartha wasn't officially charged with anything. She didn't need to be. Hollywood doors quietly closed. Television appearances disappeared. Concert bookings dried up. The message was clear: talent is welcome, but dissent is not, especially from a black woman who refused to play nice. Suddenly, Eartha Kitt became difficult, unstable, unreliable. Funny how those labels appear when a woman speaks too clearly. With her career in the United States effectively shut down, Eartha did the unthinkable. She left. Europe became her refuge. On stages in Paris and London, she was celebrated for the very qualities that had gotten her punished back home. Eartha Kitt's story proves a sharp lesson. In entertainment, silence is often rewarded. Obedience is protected, and truth-tellers are labeled problems. She paid a heavy price for honesty, but she never apologized for it. Eartha Kitt didn't lose her career because she lacked talent. She lost it because she refused to trade her voice for approval. And that, more than any role she ever played, became her most powerful performance. Halle Berry, the woman caught between two worlds. When Halle Berry made history by winning the Academy Award for Best Actress, the moment was hailed as a breakthrough. Applause, standing ovations, headlines about progress. But what Hollywood didn't show was what came after. The trophy didn't end the struggle. It simply changed the questions. For years, Halle lived in a strange in-between space. To some, she wasn't black enough. To others, she wasn't white enough. The media treated her identity like a debate topic instead of a reality. Every role, every interview, every success came with an unspoken question: where does she really belong? Her career became a careful balancing act. Too bold, and she risked being labeled difficult. Too accommodating, and she was accused of betraying representation. Halle didn't just choose roles. She navigated expectations from all sides. Representation on one hand, compromise on the other. She did everything Hollywood asks for talent. Discipline, box office power, and still found her place questioned. Winning didn't grant immunity. It made the scrutiny louder. The first woman to break the barrier was also expected to explain herself forever. Halle Berry became the modern face of a familiar paradox. Celebrated on stage, questioned off it, praised as a symbol, yet rarely allowed to simply exist without commentary. Her story shows that achievement doesn't always equal acceptance. Standing between two worlds, Halle never stopped moving forward. She didn't resolve the contradiction. She survived it. And in doing so, she exposed a quiet truth of fame. Sometimes the hardest part isn't reaching the top. It's being allowed to stand there without having to justify who you are. Sometimes the spotlight isn't truth. It's just a shiny cover hiding years of denial. But those million-dollar masks are cracking. More stars are standing tall, choosing honesty over comfort. Identity can't be erased forever. Now tell us whose story shocked you most. How many secrets are still buried? Drop a comment. Subscribe, and stay with us as we keep pulling back the velvet curtain. See you in the next file.